Okay, so good morning everyone. Let me hope that everyone is actually okay. I also hope that people from the different streams are present, okay? And the lecture class is active. I don't know if Tukundani is around. Amal, are you there? Is Abraham there? Shondre? Okay? Are you all there, you people? So, we are taking on the return of Ngofu. I think you all know we started off this play, and I believe at home you've been reading. So we did Act 1, Scene 1 and 2. I think we remember the things we came across. We said that the play is built on a bitter relationship within societies, and we looked at a case of the writer coming out to say that at times our problems are not foreign. We cause our own problems. So we looked at the question of why do we have refugees, for example? Why do you have refugees in Uganda? Okay? And we also went back and said, okay, we have refugees because one, the hostility in the home countries. We gave examples of countries. I remember you people suggesting that we talked of Rwanda. We have refugees from Rwanda. We have refugees from Sudan. We have refugees from Somalia. We have refugees from Congo. And now, in relation to the play The Return of Ngofu, there are particular countries here that play a big part for us, and we centered on Rwanda because of the genocide, which is key in the play The Return of Ngofu. We asked ourselves a question: what sent the Rwandese into Uganda? Why did they come into Uganda? And we looked at that point of genocide. You know, the Hutus and the Tutsis, they came out killing each other. Remember they talk of the cockroaches. So, now that these people have walked away into the refugee camps, the question here is, why should we have the return of Ngofu? What is Ngofu's origin? And then, why should he return? Why should he return? We got to realize that Ngofu is part of what we call the second madness. Madness that took place at Mdika. And so, when he ran, they landed at the camp of the first madness. Only thing is that it is his wife, Sarah, his youngest wife, who makes there when she's pregnant. So she gives birth to a boy. This is what brings us to our title. That during the run, we have Ngofu, the seer, collapsing and dying along the way. So he dies. Now when he dies, we would have said that this is an end of the Ngofu. What would say legacy or name. But what happens here is that Sarah gives birth. So this birth is what we all agreed as the first return of Ngofu. So when the young boy is given birth to at the camp, we witness what we call the first return of Ngofu. Ngofu returns. Why the first return? It's because Sarah names the boy the full names of the father. Ngofu, Ngoda. So that marks our first return. I think by the time we broke off, we had walked into the beginning of the second return of Ngofu. So let's have a little bit of a replay of what the book is about. So we're going to look at this, the return of Ngofu. As you can see there, it's saying Senior 3 Literature Notes, The Return of Ngofu by Francis Mbuga, who is one of the renowned Kenyan writers. So, synopsis. What could the word synopsis mean here for us? Let's use simple words like a brief introduction, okay? Something to, like a keynote, something to introduce us to what we want to talk about. We also have the word conflict. I think remember that in the literature world, the word conflict is not about a friction or a disagreement between two people, between parties, okay? Though here they're telling us that the conflict rises between two formerly friendly communities in Nimdika, an imaginary African state. It's the second conflict of its kind. I think you know this, that the first conflict is what made the first people who got to Lerema. Okay? Tunderema, I mean Tunderema. That was the first conflict. So now we are looking at the second conflict, what we also call the second madness. Okay? Just like in the first conflict, the losing community is forced to take refuge in the neighboring country. This is what gave us the talk of Rwanda. Okay? So how did the Rwandese, okay, walk into Uganda? Okay? So we got to know that one, there was the genocide issue. So one tribe had to run because it was going to get extinct. It was going to be killed completely. It was going to be erased, deleted. The way you delete messages on your phone, they go and they never appear again. So one of the races in Rwanda was going to get deleted from existence. So they had to run into Uganda. They became refugees. Okay? So we're now saying, Nderema, where they find a second home. Of course, today we have so many people from Rwanda, from Congo, from Sudan, who have found homes here in Uganda. Actually, today some of them are not from Rwanda, they are Ugandans. Okay? The first one was by origin. Now we are saying no, this is by what? Birth. Okay? So we're saying, among the many that flee of course is running, is a great elderly seer. Remember? Ngofu Ngoda. He refused to enter into the cave where Thori and Thorwa had packed the other people for safety. Ngoda lives with a young pregnant wife. Okay? He dies soon after crossing the border. His heavy wife is helped to find her way to Kadesa's shrine. Now remember, Kadesa is a product of the first madness, where there is also a camp for those who fled Lumdika in the first conflict. She gives birth soon after arrival, okay, to a son who is named after his late father, Ngofu Ngoda. Now this is where we were here. This is where we got here and marked what we call the first return. Our title is saying the return of Ngofu. So which Ngofu is returning? Okay? How many Ngofus do we have here? We're talking about the return of Ngofu. Which Ngofu? How many Ngofus do we have? We said we have the first Ngofu. This one is the old seer. I don't know how many of you come from families where we have seers, people who can see things and tell. For example, read your palm, and like for example now when they look at my palm, they still realize and they say, oh my God, you know you're going to be a very rich man. This one here, you're going to have estates. Here you'll have a very big farm, and then here you'll have a successful family. That is palm reading. Those are seers. So we are talking about Ngofu Ngoda, the old seer. And you see, like as these people were squeezing themselves into the cave, he read the situation and told the wife, no, let's leave. And indeed, after they left, Thori and the other Ndika people who were in, including the innocent babies, as you remember, were burnt. They were given two options. Come out. We're here to protect you. And those that came out, okay, were shot. That is what Thori and Thori were saying. We were amongst the first to leave. To go where? To go to the world of the dead from where they return. Okay? So, this gives us now the old seer. That's our first Ngofu. So, who becomes the second Ngofu? The son. Ngoda. Okay? He's named after the father. So now, when, like we have said earlier, because we really need to understand our title, the return. Return. So first return is birth. Like the old seer dies. The wife gives birth, so she brings back what? Life. And this life is what we refer to as a return. So this is our first return, and this is what the notes are telling us. Okay? So let's continue. with a note. Says here that Ngofu Ngoda becomes a very useful person both in Kadesa's shrine and in the Rema. Now this is what gave us, remember we talked about Sudanese who have come into Uganda, and some of them, by the way, are playing in our national basketball team. So you can see that the Sudanese have become very important to us now, like Uganda becomes Nderema. Then Sudan is Mdika, where they reign off from. Okay? His counsel is thought. Now when they say his counsel is thought, like he's always approached. Okay? The people of Nderema approach him whenever there is problems. In the book, remember, we were told he can actually cure diseases by word. He can tell rain. Without, like some people sacrifice animals, sacrifice human beings so as to get things done. But for Ngofu, it was by word. He would speak and then you get cured. He would speak and then also the rain falls. And then he would speak and then the produce or the soils would be so good. So now, such a thing was seen by the new leader of Mdika, who said, no way, we need this guy to come. Ngofu must return, and that is what marks our second return. When the new leader of Mdika comes out, first remember, he sends the scouts to go to Nderema and find out what is taking place. What is it that we get to hear? I am hearing about Ngofu. These miracles is performing. Who is this Ngofu? When the scouts go and return, remember in the play, they come back and tell the leader that, oh my God, the young man, the old man actually, is our own blood. And that is when the new leader of Mdika says, return him. And that gives us our second return, the return of Ngofu. Okay? So, and he's such a strong pillar in the Rema's development. His son becomes a personal assistant. So you can imagine, even his own son, assistant to the Prime Minister of Nderema, and the personal doctor of the leader there. His daughter is also a well-respected figure who is studying international relations at the University of Southampton. The new progressive leader in Mdika, the country where Ngofu has his roots, lands of Ngofu's existence. This is when he sends his scouts. He embarks on efforts to bring back Ngofu to Mdika. Bring back. Okay? So when the leader says, do what? Bring back. So this bringing back is what is now going to give us what we are going to call the second return. Okay? The new leader of Mdika says, no. We need this thing about the rain. I mean, if a man can talk and it rains, no. Sure, he should come and talk and it rains here. Then next, what about our crops? Okay? What about our crops? Says, hey, okay, we also need, okay? Then says, what about the healing? They're telling us the man just looks at you and you get healed. Like now, for example, the COVID we are having. Imagine, okay? You would just walk, let's say now to Mulago Hospital, and then you will look at those people and tell them, you're healed, get up, go home. You know the way they say Jesus would look at people and say, oh, your faith has healed you, pick your mat and go home. So now, the new leader of Mdika is saying, no way. We need this man to return home. And so when you are justifying, when they give us that question, do you find the title befitting? Do you find the title appropriate? Okay? How appropriate is our title, The Return of Ngofu? We want to look at how suitable. Another word could be appropriate. We could say fitting in a layman's language. Fitting. How appropriate, suitable, fitting is the title. Okay? So, one word guides us. We are saying return. Title is saying return. So, in the play, so we ask ourselves the question, where is the return in the play? Where is the return in the play? And then we start saying one. First to return, because we're saying the old seer lives. So when he lives and then he dies, something happens. Okay? We're saying Nora gives birth. So when she gives birth, that marks our first return. So, is the title appropriate? Yes, because it's talking about the return of Ngofu. That when the son is given the two names, Ngofu, Ngoda, it marks our first return. And then he also grows up and like it is the DNA. It's in the blood. The man also becomes a seer. He's a healer. What you call a miracle worker. Just like his dad. The father used to do that. So now, this also is attributed to what we call the return. That the deeds, okay? The deeds return. They don't just vanish. You know, they say when people die, they die with their luck. When people die, they die with their, blessings. But now, for this one, what happens? When Ngofu dies, the son, inherits his abilities. The ability to heal, the ability to foresee. Okay? So the son, so now these are all returns. Then now we go again, they talk about the return of Ngofu. So now we look at the second one is going to take us to the new leader of Ndika. He wants to see the beauty of Nderema transferred to Ndika. And then so the question here is, how is he going to achieve that? By requesting. So he requests. So he requests Ngofu to return home. So this is our title. It's saying the return of Ngofu. So we look at it. So it's telling us, so Ngofu now must return. The new leader says no. This Ngofu has to do it. To come back where he belongs. He sends emissaries, the ones we called the scouts, who convince Ngofu to be the chief guest at the forthcoming National Remembrance Day. Remember, one of the things that must happen in Indika if Ngofu should return, if the refugees should return, is forgiveness and reconciliation. The ones with the bitter hearts because of the pain of the two madness cases, the first madness, then the second madness, those people that lost their loved ones, they have to let that go. And then of course, forgive. They must promote life above death. So this is what he's saying here. So, Ngofu graces the occasion with his daughter, only for his health situation to deteriorate as he makes his what? Speech. So, what happens is that the people of Mdika were both fortunate and very unfortunate. Fortunate in a way that Ngofu returns home. I think maybe now the benefit that these people will have out of Ngofu is the son, okay, and then also his, if not the son and the daughter. But Ngofu, of course, as we know, by the end of the play, Ngofu dies as he's making his what? His speech. Okay, so now let's look at a summary of scene 1. What happens? Remember the two spirits we meet? How many of you have seen spirits apart from movies? How many of you have the strength to walk to the graveyard? Okay? Okay? How many of you? How many of you do that? Have that strength that you can actually walk to the graveyard? Like, for example, at night. Be there in the world of the dead. I dare. Okay? Much as Aisha. I dare if you can actually do that. Okay? And let me hope that, Aisha, let me hope that you and the rest are actually making notes of this. Because you know what will happen. In our class when you come back, you don't have the notes. You know how we dance to the tunes. Okay? So far, we have had a good introduction. Okay? Of a recap of what the play, The Return of Ngofu, okay, looks at. What the title is telling us, The Return of Ngofu. Who's the return? Ngofu. Return from what? Return from Derema. Why return from Derema? It's because the people of Ndika lost their heads. They went killing themselves. There was genocide, murder. People are grabbing land. Okay? Hatred. It was too much. So let's look at scene 1, for example. What does scene 1 do? I wish I could really have somebody there to tell me. Okay? So remember that they're telling us that the scene opens to a market where the buyers and sellers are busy. Normal market. You've been to Owino market. You've been to, apart from Owino, a Mukwana Arcade. Okay? You've been to supermarkets. Okay, Garden City, Freedom City, you've seen, you've been there, and then people are busy. So imagine in that busy environment, and then who comes in? Thori, an old man pushing his wife, 31, on a wheelchair. The two, remember they told us in their own words, we are messengers. Okay? They have come from the world of the dead, from those that went before them. Okay? And they come with a message, a warning. They come with a warning. Because if what happened during the first madness and the second madness is not addressed, then we are likely to have a third madness. Now this time, these people will kill themselves completely, so there will be no one left in Mundika. Because the other people they were killing ran. They're out. Okay? So we're saying they intend to address the people in the market, but Thori is rather hesitant. Because remember, their spirits, they are talking, no one is going to listen to them, no one is going to hear, no one is going to even to see them. So they are going to talk to themselves. After some discussion and coaxing by Thoriwa, Thori agrees to address the crowd, and he goes ahead to introduce Thoriwa and himself as a former couple and keepers of the shrine. Remember the shrine? Remember what happened in the shrine? That's where they used to educate the children of the community from. And when the second madness broke out, it's also the place where they ran for refuge. They believed the shrine would be a safe place because it was used for children, and therefore society always has a precious measure to protect and safeguard the children. It was rather unfortunate, the irony of it, that when these people get there, the people that were doing the killing followed them to the shrine. What happened? We read that in the play. Okay, I believe you remember, because you are supposed to quote those exact words. Okay, tukundane, are we together? Let me hope we are, and you're making some good notes. So we are saying that was before the first madness broke out, which saw neighbors fight, burn and kill each other. They became beasts, animals. Okay? He proceeds to narrate the goings on what happened actually to Ngofu themselves and the many others that got burnt to death. Oh my God. These are like, remember, we have people we keep going to honor in Uganda, the Ugandan martyrs who were burnt. Now these ones, however, don't qualify to be martyrs. This is genocide, which consequently transferred them to the kingdom of their ancestors. Of course, like now they left the world of the living. So remember they said, when these people came, they told them that, hey, come out, we have come to protect you. And so when they came out, they got killed. Now those who refused to come out were set ablaze on fire. Okay? So now they are coming from the world of the dead. Thori and Thoriwa are the key characters. Much as the title is saying Ngofu, but Thori and Thoriwa run for us the plot. They come, they introduce us, they let us know what was happening, and then they also let us know what should be done. So the plot is built on that message that they carry from the world of the dead, letting the audience know that at some point there was tranquility that was spoiled by fighting, that brought the current state where the exiles at the Rema who originated from Ndika. Remember, this is when we talked about, we gave example of our only kind of Ngofu returning. We said when the people of Rwanda went killing each other, the grandparents of the current president of Rwanda, okay, could have run with many other people into Uganda. Now, majority of these people got born in Uganda and they got raised in Uganda. Now, time reached when Rwanda needed liberation. Who returns? Kagame returns. But Kagame is returning from where? He's returning from Uganda, where he has even served as the IGP, Uganda's first IGP, when the current president took over power. Kagame served as our first IGP. So now look at that glory. So the people of Rwanda could have said, no, 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 no. Imagine our own children, our own blood are out there doing good things for Uganda. We need them to return. Kagame and the others returned to Rwanda. What happens? Are we seeing what Rwanda is today? A beautiful country. So now you can see that need of saying, please to return where? Home. Okay? So, Thori and Thoriwa come out and they tell us, they give us the fate of the people of Mdika. What happened? How carelessly one fire incident led to a whole nasty experience of burning and killing people, brutality, okay, coming out. So now this is in, and they even tell us to prepare to go to Kadesa's what? Shrine. So after introducing us, they tell us, prepare to go to Kadesa's what? Shrine. And we move, okay? So we move from the market scene. This is what gives us again that as we are doing literature, I believe you remember, this was something we did in Senior 2. Senior 2 literature, remember? We had some words that we called setting. Remember this word, setting? And talked about time, which is when. And then place, where. Where the action, when the actions take place. Okay? So, setting. So when we mention setting, we're supposed to say which characters do we meet in that place. Okay? And then we also went to say what themes and ideas do we get out of that place. Then we also went to ask ourselves, what lessons is the writer passing out through that place or that time? We also went ahead to say, okay, so we've said themes, lessons, characters. What about emotions? Okay? And then, how does it help us in a story development, plot development? So, now, our setting is the market. So we are the market. Who do we meet? Our main characters. They are giving us Thori and then his wife, Thoriwa. And then of course there are the other masses of Mdika. So themes and ideas. So now that's what is going to take us to what we are going to call a message that the two spirits come with. And the two spirits get to let us know that, oh my God, one, there is genocide. Two, what do we have? We have, of course, the smaller one, which is murder. Okay? We also had hatred. Okay? We came in with the issue of refugees. Now, they are coming up with a word called reconciliation, forgiveness. Okay? Which brings in another word called what? Hope. Okay? So, okay? So we are looking at this. That these are things and ideas that we have gotten just from what? The market area. So in literature, setting is very important. The writer uses literature to communicate. Okay? So we really need to follow each time. What about the lessons? Remember? We said our lessons can come in form of sayings, can come in form of proverbs, or just good deeds. So these guys were killing. So do we say, I learned not to kill? No, please. Life is precious and should be valued. The people of Mdika during the first and second madness did not value life. That's why they were killing. They were terminating. They were ending life. We're saying no. Life is what? Precious. The rest of now, we can take it from this saying that there is light. There is light at the end of every dark tunnel. Yeah. There's light at the end of every dark tunnel. This light is coming with what? With hope. And the hope is coming with the return of Ngafu. Okay? We also have the common saying, love your neighbor as you love yourself. I think if this had happened in the community of Mdika, we would not have had the case of the genocide. If these people love themselves. Okay? So, these are lessons we get. Emotions, oh my God. The feelings that come upon us. Oh, of course we hate something. We feel disgusted. Okay? We pity. We sympathize. Okay? Yeah. There's so many emotions. We're getting that from what? The setting, the market setting. Even that's what? We are amused. Emotions of amusement. I mean, spirits. Why would spirits that we believe would be flying in air? Why would they be struggling with a wheelchair? And then they're taking turns to push themselves on a wheelchair. That is crazy. So we are amused by that. Those are emotions that amuse me. Now plot. What does it do? It arouses. The market scene arouses readers or listeners or the audience. The audience is what? Interest. Because as the spirits come in, and then as they are moving away, they tell us, prepare to go to Kadesa's what? Shrine. So inside us, we're like, okay, what is this Kadesa's what? Shrine. So who is Kadesa? And what is it about the shrine name? Kadesa's Shrine. Who is there? What are we going to find there? So that arousement of interest is what helps in plot development. And this is all happening from one setting, which is the market setting. That's where we get this first. Okay? So now, let's go to scene what? We still have a few minutes. Let's go to scene 2 of Act 1.
Okay. Remember, the spirits have told us to prepare to be carried to Kadesa's shrine. Okay? I don't know how we would say that in Jingo's words, just translated movies. Okay? Now we meet Mude. Remember Mude? He's one of the guards there. Okay? Sitting on a stool outside Kadesa's shrine, of course. Okay? He's protecting, just like Thori and Thoriwa used to do. Okay, at the other shrine. This also happens here. Kadesa walks in. You know how she walked in? Remember that time where somebody tried out there to see how Kadesa was to do it? Kadesa walked in with a pot on her head, balancing. Okay, so near a mound and begins to commune with the unseen spirits. Remember, she's also like a seer. Okay, she's a priestess of the shrine. The discussion that takes place between Kadesa and Mude introduces the conflict, where Mude reports to Kadesa that he has been sent to warn them that the second madness has broken out in Ndika, and therefore the camp needs what? Protection. So, when the first madness happened, these people ran. And then somehow they ended up in a camp. Okay? And this is the camp where we're in. Inside the Rema, the way we said the people of South Sudan ran into Uganda. Like when you got to Moyo, Ajumani, you go to Gulu, you go to Arua, you're going to find the Sudanese. Even here in Uganda, they have walked in. Okay? From there, they have into Buganda. Their Sudanese are almost everywhere in Uganda. Okay? So now, should we have gotten scared at the time that, oh my God, these people are coming in, they may extend their conflicts, their fight into Uganda, let's protect. But of course we did that at the border. Okay? We secured. We only allowed in refugees. The army, the warriors, those people who were fighting and killing their other fellow Sudanese, we told them, please, you cross into Ugandan soil, you will face the Museveni wrath of their guns. And they kept back. So we have refugees. The same thing happens with Rwanda. Much as those people were killing, okay, the Hutus killing the Tutsis like that, you know, the moment the other section of the Rwandese crossed into Uganda, there was nothing those who were killing could do. They stopped there. So now these people have walked in, they're into our what? They're into camps of refugees. Okay? So now the rising action is set on the motion by the entry of Bizia Kadesa's son and keeper of the shrine, where the prevailing insecurity is portrayed by the interaction between him and Mude. Bizia, who has a spear in hand, looks suspiciously at Mude, demanding to know who he is. While on the other hand, Mude draws a pistol. The tension that had built up with the incident cools down with Kadesa's introduction of the two to each other. Remember now, we are coming from an atmosphere of madness, of cruelty, animosity. That's the word that was used in the play, animosity. Now when we say you become an animal, it is really so bad. That means you don't use your brain. You don't think. Okay? Anything before you is for game. You can kill. So you become an animal. So now, what role does, Kadesa begins to play for us what Thori and Thoriwa talked about. That people should do what? Learn to value. Let people learn to listen to each other. So you can see now, this one, Bizia is picked a spear. Mude on the other side is holding his pistol. So what, are we going to witness a third madness here at this time? No. So now, Kadesa walks in and says, no, please. He introduces the two to each other, they get to know each other, and the tension does what? Comes down. And that is what Francis Mbuga is trying to say. that if the people of Mdika can actually get to table with those that ran out because of the madness and talk, then I think Mdika can become a better place. And then we could also avoid future madness arising. Bizia introduces a twist to the plot with his report that his brother Matia and fellow keeper of the shrine is leading two strangers. Okay? Two strangers, a man and a woman, to the shrine. Two strangers, a man and a woman. So could this man be Ngofu and his wife? Could it be? Some tension again begins to build with Bizia's idea that they should be stopped from coming into the shrine. An idea that Kadesa immediately opposes. Remember, Kadesa is this person of she's progressive, she's accommodative, she's caring, she's lenient, she's welcoming. So she's what a leader is supposed to be. So to see two strangers who are running and then you try to stop them, supposing they are thirsty. At times people knock at our doors and we don't open. Supposing that opening you do would actually save their life. So we need to look at, these are lessons we learn from literature. Altogether. So we continue. Says, Bizia's belief is that bringing a pregnant woman into the shrine will amount to defiling it. But Kadesa on the other side is looking at bringing life. Which takes us back to our case of lessons we learn. That we should value life. Kadesa here is teaching us how to value life. Bizia is looking at the woman as a stranger, but Kadesa is looking at the other thing of helping a woman to bring life, to sustain life. Now, that is a lesson. These are lessons we learn from literature. The man, Adonijah, also reinforces with his message by reporting that the fighting is on again. Adonijah is what you'd call today's journalists. Okay? Equipped with a camera that captures images. He records. Now for us, we don't need that camera. Our phones, the ones we are calling the smartphones, have come in. So we have everything there. We have storage inside. The camera, there. Okay? So we can really do. And then when we want to share, we go to WhatsApp, we go to Twitter, we go to FB, everywhere. We can share what we have taken. Okay? But for Adonijah, he's carrying it in his hand. He's carrying the camera. Okay? Now, this prompts Mude to urge Bizia and Matia to be more careful as the fighting may trickle into the shrine. Just as they are talking, the cry of a newborn is heard from the shrine, and Adonijah announces that Ngofu Ngoda has come back. Remember, as these people were talking, Kadesa sends her people and tells them, no, go and pick the woman. I think she needs help. Give Adonijah a seat. Give him water. Okay? So, Nora is taken inside. She's helped. And then she gives birth. Okay? She gives birth. And once she gives birth, and then of course the boy is named Ngofu Ngoda, which we have said is our first return of Ngofu, as reflected by the title, the return of what? Ngofu. So when the newborn is heard crying, that is the return. Okay? Nora Ngofu. Okay? Ngofu himself is said to have died soon after crossing the border. Of course, and when he died, we thought that was an end. But then here, Nora, who was pregnant, has given birth to a boy. Okay? The flashback reveals, among other things, preparation of weapons and planned use of vernacular media to preach hostility between tribes as curtains falls. But then Kadesa is making arrangements to go and bury Ngofu. Now, this is another lesson Okay, humanity. We have to have that sense of humility. When we see a neighbor, when we see a stranger in problems, we have to come in and help. These are lessons. Because remember, one of the key questions they will ask you in literature over the books we're doing is, what lessons do you derive from the book? So you need to do this. Okay? You need to do this. These are lessons we learn. Okay? So there's so many things. We're talking about the return. Let's just go over a few things that we have said here now about the play. Okay? We have said it's a friction of hostility amongst the tribes in Ndika. And then, so what happens when these tribes go killing? Some of the people get to run out, to go into exile. Okay? The others who remained, it's the shrine. Imagine, a shrine is supposed to be a place that values life. But what happened? These people come and kill. They, first of all, they shoot those who came out. That is why Thorin says, we were amongst the first to leave. And then now, they also burned those that refused to come out of the cave. They burnt them. So now, this is hostility. This is the genocide we are talking about. Now, Ngofu says no way. There's no way Nora and I are entering there. So they choose to go into what? Exile. They choose to become refugees. Unfortunately, Ngofu dies across the border. Okay, his body is kept by another stranger. So now when he dies, Nora and Adonijah make it to Cadesa's shrine. Of course, the shrine is named after Cadesa. Oh, Cadesa is also a product. She's from Ndika. Okay? She's a product of the first madness. So now when Nora gives birth, this is what marks for us our first return, which is announced by Mude. Mude announces himself as, hey people, Ngofu has returned. Then later on, in the scenes that follow, the new leader of Ndika says, please return home. And this is our second return of Ngofu, marking the title, the return of Ngofu. He's given birth to, and then he returns at the end of the play under the request of the new leader of Ndika, who wants to promote reconciliation and forgiveness. Okay, so this has been what? This has been our return of Ngofu. The notes, as you can see there, are full of the text. Please, there may be other books there within this note, but keep to the text of the return of Ngofu. I want you to read that. Then I want you to replay it in your mind. Read the text, read these notes, and then you'll be okay. Okay? I want to end with the poetry. A poem, okay? Encouraging you people. Can you still get these poems in your head? Okay? Get the poems in your head. So that you know that basically we know with a poem, you must know what the subject matter is, what's the poem about. You must know who is speaking in the poem. we have to be able to talk about what we're speaking. We have to talk about what emotions does the poem arouse in you. We have to be able to do that. We have to also talk about what lessons do we get from the poem, and then how does the poem reflect what happens in your own community. Okay, so let's go with I to Sing America. I'm ending with that. Okay, I to Sing America. I'm the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll sit at the table when company comes, and nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they will see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too, I am America, by Langston Hughes. So you look at that poem saying, I too sing America. So how many poems have you gotten in your head from the time you've gone home? Remember, you're going to walk into class. That this is where I take on my Maria Matama. Okay? Yes, I still have my offer that I gave you. 5K for the long poems. And no one has still recited them. So when we return to school, I want you to come with those long poems. Run in front. Recite it. Teach us. Take us through the things about poetry. And you earn your 5K. I wish you guys a nice day. Please take care. Read the books. Get the poems in you. Have a nice COVID holiday. Run in front.